Questions?
Well, you know, if you look at Barkley and all, it's noticed that ADHD people are notorious at poor self-reporting of their behaviors and their like looking at themselves. So how do you take? I mean, I see you have an objective measure, but what do you think about that aspect?
I mean, that's kind of a whole other boat here. Obviously, the study was taking a lot of weight on what the clients said.
Right.
But we were also measuring it against what they had said previously. So if there was change, then it demonstrated something. But yeah, I didn't really talk too much about that. Yeah.
In the coaching process in this study, did you find that clients who lived alone had more or less difficulty? Could you make an association? Meaning, if they have peer pressure in their house, would that help or would that have no effect whatsoever?
That is a great question, and I'm going to talk about that on the next slide. Okay? All right. Okay, where are we now? Okay, so for goals and objectives, one of the suggestions that we got were that they wanted more coaches' input. If you remember, we had that coaching topic survey where they rated what they felt was really necessary, but a lot of the clients said that they felt like they could have been missing a big piece that was important, and they would have liked a little bit more direction on that. In terms of what you just said, actually, all of the clients, I'll talk about it now, all of the clients either were single, divorced, or in self-described, kind of not the best relationships. And none of them chose to make a relationship goal. So this was really important. Throughout the process, a couple of them came to realize that, and by the end, thought, well, this was kind of maybe about that a little bit, and I didn't set that as a goal, and that would have been nice. So that's where that kind of came into play here. The ones that did use others for accountability, and not just the coach, because ultimately, I'm not going to be there, you know, and using others is actually a great thing to do.
So what do you mean by using your parent, your roommate, your partner?
Yep.
But I guess you did it. There weren't enough people to measure to people who have others.
We didn't take that as a direct measure. That was not one of the questions asked. Okay. Missed meetings, tardiness, and transitioning. People with ADHD relate a lot, and one client suggested adding time to the beginning of the session for them to be allowed to be late. I think in theory that's wonderful, but in my own practice, if I did that, I'd be losing out on a lot of clients. So that one still, I think we need to work on that. But as far as transitioning, this isn't something that's talked about too much in the literature, but all of the clients mentioned that mentally transitioning from one thing to the next is very, very difficult for them. And Elizabeth actually said, she said that if Ed McMahon called her and said she needed to be somewhere at a certain time to get her $1 million check, she'd still have trouble getting out the door. And so it didn't matter the reward. So really working on that fact and you know, maybe setting a timer, not when you have to leave, don't set it for when you have to leave, set it for 10 minutes before that so that you have that time to kind of transition and get yourself ready to leave. Photographs, I use this all the time now in my sessions, and I don't know why I didn't think about it.
How do you use it?
What's that? How do I use it? That's what I'll tell you now. Jamie actually came up with this idea, the 17-year-old. I do all my coaching in the office in session. And what she suggested is for areas that she wanted to have organized within her home, she snapped a before picture and she emailed that to me. And then she worked on the goal and she snapped an after picture and emailed that to me. And it really helped her accountability. And it also helped because we would sit and talk about the photograph. Okay, what goes where, what makes sense. It's wonderful, and I should have thought of it myself. So, emphasis on insight. Interestingly, the clients in this study felt that they wanted insight to play a bigger role of the coaching process, and traditionally that's what we try to leave out of the coaching process. The daily log of goal-related activities is actually a good tool that right now, or before this, the standard was that it was kind of an afterthought, but this tool asks questions. You pick one objective, and it kind of asks questions about what are you doing, what steps are you taking to work towards your objectives, and what are you letting interfere with that in your day? And it asks insight-oriented questions about each objective so that you can gain a little bit more insight. So maybe making that a bigger part of the process might be a little bit helpful for some people. And then there's the whole line between coach and therapist coach. All of the clients in this study actually reported that they had some level of comorbid anxiety, depression, or struggled with self-esteem. So it's knowing, when do you have a disease and those problems are too big for the coaching room, or when do you have someone with just a little bit of anxiety, depression, and if you have someone doing the coaching, such as myself with a mental health background, where can you incorporate a little bit of insight-oriented work without overstepping that boundary or making it not about the coaching? Question?
Yes, I'm confused on why you're saying insight is left out, because what you're talking about is, my definition is people looking within to try to create new things for their life, and it sounds like it's there.
It's there. It's there, not in an overt way. And these clients were asking that we do ask more questions about life. Coaching, and this method especially, was more about setting behavioral goals and objectives and meeting those. And they just wanted to talk about why is my behavior interfering with those goals, or why am I successful? Yeah.
So are you talking about insight about the current situation or insight about the goal itself? Because they're two different things. You can talk about why, things are not happening, or how things can happen. And that, to me, it still sounds like insight.
It's all insight. Yeah. It's there. And as you can see, one of the results was they felt like they gained insight. But it's not made, like I said, an overt part of the process. We don't sit and say, okay, for this period of time now within coaching, we're going to talk about why you're doing the things you are, what's going on in your life, what happened 10 years ago that is affecting what you're doing right now. And they wanted a little bit more of that. But in this particular model. Yeah, and like I mentioned before, there are different models of coaching. But regardless, you need to be careful and be aware of your background. If you're a coach and a mental health therapist as well, you need to be careful of that line. If you're a coach without a mental health background, then you need to be wary of a different line. It's just, it differs, and the clients in this situation had a lot of comorbidity and wanted a little bit extra.
Oh, you skipped structured, productive, procrastination.
I did, I'm sorry. That was a really interesting one. Also, one of my clients came up with. She termed it structured or productive procrastination. And this was when she had a particular goal she wanted to work on, but didn't feel like working on it, wanted to procrastinate. So she would procrastinate with another goal, which was really interesting because she was still being productive, but she felt like she was procrastinating. So instead of working on her schoolwork, she would clean her house.
Yeah. I just had a question about the insight issue. You had a couple of folks who were seeing a mental health professional
Right.
at the same time as coaching. Was
Right.
there any sort of interaction between those two kinds of help that they were getting? Did they talk to
Between the coach and the therapist, or?
No, but did they bring things from the coaching session to the therapist or vice versa? I mean, did they mix it at all?
No, they didn't. They didn't.